shared my wrong screen. Sorry, sorry guys, I shared my wrong screen. Welcome everyone to this week in Svelte episode 108. Today it's an early episode, but we have a showcase, which is something that I'm always excited about. And this is also a pretty good showcase. Like, we have some pretty good showcases in the next few weeks, so I'm pretty excited about them. Today we have Peter that is going to talk about Svelte Flow, which I was talking with him. I'm actually probably try out right after this week in Svelte. So let's jump right into the changelog, which is the usual thing that we start with, so that we can see. And actually, we don't have much on the Svelte side. We have fix, untrack, inspect weed, and add check for unsafe mutation. So this is actually something that if you ever used inspect weed, so let me do Svelte Dev Playground. So inspect weed is a way so that if you have $state, I should make a snippet out of a counter component because I always need to write counter components. Button on click is equal count plus plus button count, and obviously I should name this count. All right, so if I do inspect count, you can see that on the bottom in the console here, whenever I change this value, I get an update. So this is a useful thing that you can do when you want to debug your reactive variables. But let's say that you don't want to print exactly this and you want to use console warn, for example. What you can do is that you can do with, and if you pass a function, this function takes the update and kind basically and value. And so here I can do console.warn, for example, kind value. And so I basically get the same thing. So the kind is if it's an init or if it's an update, and the value is the updated value. Now, the problem was in this bug that, let's say that I'm doing console log instead of console warn. If I add another variable, count2, for example, and I was using it, I was logging it inside this. This was basically not untracked. So let's say that I did console log value and then count2. What happened inside, if I go back to 0.7, which is where the bug was fixed, what happens is that this thing run and count is actually now a dependency of this inspect. And so this means that if I change count to, it's actually rerunning the inspect. And this is even weirder if you just access it and don't log it, because if I do this now, this is saying, hey, this value count is being updated, and now it's 0, which is very weird. Also, now, if I did something like I don't know, 43, this is a problem. Updating state. Let's say I do map.random like this, so that it changes every time. You can see that this is creating an infinite loop because you are changing count, but now inspect is depending on count, and so you get it. You basically enter in an infinite loop, and this is obviously problematic. And so if we switch to 0.8 when this was fixed. Now, first thing first, if you try to update something stateful inside inspect, you would get an error, which is much better. But most importantly, if I do this, count2 is now not a dependency of the inspect, which is better. Let's move to use fine grained for template if the component is not explicitly in legacy mode. So This is something that was fixed some time ago, and we got so many bug reports out of this. I want to find the moment where we merged. Yeah, I think it's this one. So in 5.34.4, so let's switch for 5.34.3, right? And let's say that we have count.test.js. We have let count is equal to $state 0, and then we have function get, and we return count, and we have function increase, and we do count plus plus, right? So if we import from count.test and we import get and increase, all right, so let's say that we do this and we increase here and we get here. Let me see what the problem is. Expected end of file. Well, I need to export. Maybe that's it. Return. All right. Oh, yeah. Count.svelte.js. I don't know why I went with test.svelte.js. All right. So remember, this is 5.34.3. And let's say that I do let count is equal to 0, console.log count, and I also have a button to increase count, like this. So now this is a legacy component, right? Count plus plus. So this is a legacy component. It's using legacy syntax. And it's using, like, it's not using state and stuff like that. Now, what happens is that if I do this, obviously this is increasing. If I do this, it's still increasing. So I'm still getting the reactivity from count, like this thing, which is using runes, even though I am in a legacy component. And like this can actually break stuff. And so in 5.20.34.4, we fixed this problem. And so now if we switch to 0.4, now you can see that like this is working, but this is not working anymore. Now, this is expected and it's fine because, again, you are in a legacy component. And so since you are in a legacy component, this shouldn't work, otherwise can break some components. And in fact, there was a bug that sprouted this fix. However, there is a problem. So by default, in Svelte 5, you are in non-rune mode. So if you have an empty component, that's a legacy component. And you only opt in into runes by using a rune or by specifically specifying Svelte runes to true. And this means that, let's say that you don't have this code. Let me copy it because we might need it later. Let's say that you don't have this code. So this is not technically a legacy component, right? Because you are not using anything that actually is legacy. Like, this is just legacy because you're not using any runes. But you want to use runes because you are importing this file, but yet this doesn't work. So the fix would be to use Svelte options, runes, like this, and now this is working because we are in rune mode. However, we got so many like bug report about this, and the reason is because obviously, like if you use like classes and like .svelte.js files and stuff like that, it's very usual that all of your state is actually inside a .svelte.js file, And you are not using any rune inside your app.svelte. And so since by default this is a legacy component, it was not working. And this is what we fixed. So now if we switch back to the latest version, this is still in rune mode, but now this is still working even if you don't have Svelte options runes. So if you have it, obviously this will work, but even if you don't have it, it will still work. However, there is a slight difference between the original bug, and it's the fact that if we go back to the other component, so this is a legacy component. The reason why we can tell it's a legacy component is because you have this labeled statement. And so since you have a labeled statement, now it doesn't work anymore. So if you are explicitly in legacy component, so if you are using something that it's only available in legacy component, like the label statement or export let count, or if you are using $sign props, so these are all things that explicitly tell us that this is a legacy component. Same thing for $sign rest props. So all of this is things that like make you into legacy mode, and this means that like you cannot read in the template anymore. But if you're just using a component like this is like sort of an in-between word where in the template all of this is still working, but you are still in legacy mode. So you are not in rune mode, but like basically this is a sort of an in-between mode. So yeah, this was like finally we fixed it because okay, let's move to lift unsafe state mutation constraint for Svelte set, Svelte map, Svelte date, Svelte URL set param created inside of the right. So this was like objectively like it's a sort of an edge case, but the problem here is that let's say that const map is equal derived.by import Svelte map from Svelte reactivity. So what happens here is that if you are creating const map is equal to new Svelte map inside a derived, technically there is still like you can do map.set 1 1, for example, right? So you are setting the state, and in this case it's not problematic. It's not problematic because sorry guys, I don't know if you can hear me like my microphone, but I just scratch. So in this case it's not problematic because the Svelte map is created inside a derived, and it's also set inside the derived. So technically inside the derived you can create state and you can set state within a derived because that thing is not tracked by that derived because it was created inside the derived. So the problem was that Svelte map did not have this thing, so it was basically erroring out. So if I do this and I do this, you can see that like this is an error that we want. Like if you create the Svelte map outside of the derived, then it needs to error, but it is created inside, then it's not a problem, and I need to return map. So if it's outside, it's like throwing a state unsafe mutation. If it's inside, it's fine. And so this was the bug that was fixed. The reason for this is because internally Svelte map was using source instead of state. So source is a way to create state like in the Svelte internals, and source does not have the check to see that like this is created inside this reaction, and so basically like it does not have that check, and so like it was erroring out. We moved it to state and now it's fine. There's also another PR open for this to fix a different thing. So yeah, that's it for Svelte. Let's move to SvelteKit. We have 2 new releases. So prevent infinite loop when calling push state, replace state in effect. So if you were calling push state or replace state in effect, this was probably causing an infinite loop because you are reading the page state inside effect and then writing to it. And so this was now fixed. Use manual chunks to bundle single any line up with roll down. So manual chunks is a way to define your roll-up configuration to split manually where stuff needs to go. And so to bundle single any line ups, which is a way to bundle all your SvelteKit application in a single file, then we are using manual chunk with roll down. Use fallback if untrack does not exist in Svelte package. So untrack was actually introduced at a certain point into the Svelte 5 word, basically. Before it was a different way, it was defined in a different way. And so this meant that if you were in an old version of Svelte that did not have untrack and SvelteKit was using untrack, it was erroring out for you. And now it's conditionally defined. Warning for Chrome DevTools request now suggests SV instead of Vite plugin. So basically, if you're in localhost and you have Chrome DevTools open, Chrome will make a request to your dev server to get the information about your workspace. And this is something that was bothering us because there were a bunch of logs for Chrome. And so there is a Vite plugin to add that. And initially, we just suggested you to add that Vite plugin. Since now it's also something that you can add with SV add, we now suggest SV instead. Let's see if we have anything else. We have a new release for enhanced image. Allow Vite plugin Svelte 6 peer dependency. So there is a new version of Vite plugin Svelte, which should be in beta right now, that unlock Vite 7, if I'm not mistaken. And with it also comes support for roll down. So if you're interested, check it out. Consider that roll down at the moment does not tree shake very well, so bundle size can increase. A new release for Svelte package, handle known semver style dependency version. I think we saw something similar back in the last episode. Yeah, this is the new release, or it's a pre-release. We have remove support for loading CommonJS Svelte config files. So before, you technically could still have a svelte.config.cjs. I think now this is removed as support. But you also get support for loading TypeScript Svelte config file. So instead of having a svelte.config.js, you can have a svelte.config.ts. However, this change only applies to Vite plugin Svelte. To use it in SvelteKit with Svelte VS Code extension or other tools, you have to wait until support is implemented. Log known issue link when using roll down Vite. So again, this is the when you are using roll down Vite, the bundle size might not be tree shaken properly, and so we are doing this. 2 new release of ESLint plugin Svelte. Fix no unused class name, detect duplicated class names. Oh, that's cool. Support regex for allowed class name option. Okay. A new release for SV2, resolve to task instead of run in a done instruction for Dino. Okay, so if you are adding something with Dino, instead of doing Dino run, it will do Dino task, which is the way to Dino, for Dino to run this thing. So that's it. Let's see the tracker if you have something. Oh, is it on purpose, Antoine? The fact that loading is flipped, or it's a bug? So we have some bump ES wrap. This is something I'm super excited about. This is part of this PR actually. So in a bit, ES wrap, which is a library that we use, it was from Rich, but now it's officially maintained. It's basically the library that allow us to get an abstract syntax tree for JavaScript and like print a JavaScript file. But now in version 2, it's actually able to print whatever AST. So you need to provide a way to build the AST, like a plugin to build the AST. And so this means that we can actually build a Svelte print function for ESWrap, which means that we can provide a print function so that you can basically get a string, compile it with Svelte, and once you compile it, you get the AST, you can modify the AST and then print back a new Svelte component. So this will be actually huge for preprocessors and Vite plugin that actually want to change the component before actually Svelte interject it. Support using link top level. So using, I think we already saw this last week, but basically using it's a way to clean up your variables after they go out of scope. And we plan to allow the use of using in Svelte, and we also will link top level using to the component lifecycle, which is super cool. So you can get inside a Svelte component, you can do using some variable, and whenever the component amount that goes out of scope, and clean up your thing, which is super cool. I think this is a fix. Yeah, we already explored this. Let me see devlog. Yeah, this is just the blog by Antoine. So that's it for this. And so now we can actually switch to the interesting bit of today, which is Svelte Flow. So let me switch to the guest scene because we can join, like Peter, it's here. And
hello.
He's going to showcase Svelte Flow, which is a pretty cool library that basically allows you to build flows with Svelte. So you can actually have like nodes that are connected and you can move them around and they are connected, and those nodes can be Svelte component. But I mean, I'll let him present everything because I'm pretty sure that he's going to do a better job than me. I'm fading away.
Thank you so much, Paulo. So, yeah, hi, I'm Peter. I'm from XYFlow. I mainly work on Svelte Flow. And yeah, if you need any information or look something up I haven't said in this presentation now, you can head over to svelteflow.dev. This is our website. And yeah, this is basically the library I'm working on. We are past pre-release status. We did our first major release. This is production ready. You can already use it today. It's MIT licensed, so yeah, you don't have to worry about any weird licensing issues with this. And yeah, let's head right in. So Svelte Flow, you can build basically flow UIs with Svelte Flow. Let's actually just find out what that is. For this, we created like a little visualization. So flow UIs are usually made up of nodes, which are like these little boxes. Those nodes can be connected with edges, which are basically lines between the nodes. We specify a little bit more that the nodes, the edges are connected to handles. And there are also like some naming stuff where like creating a new edge is basically, we call this like making a connection. So this is a connection. And we have the viewport, which is also defined, just like you can pan and zoom the viewport freely. And there you go, you have yourself a little flow UI. I mean, this is not a scientific term. Please don't quote me on this. This is what we use internally to like distinguish between flow UIs and more general things like graph visualizations, because technically this is a graph visualization. But I would argue that if you are looking to do something where you need to like visualize a very complex underlying graph structure, and it needs to be performance, it's more about like the structural qualities of the application. There are better solutions out there which are way more performant and way more optimized for that case. But if you want to create a as we call it, the Flow UI, where you want to make things more interactive, want to put things that are more specific to like the browser environment, like inputs, boxes, tick boxes, or buttons, or anything inside your nodes, inside your edges, then this is what we basically focus on a little bit more. And we also kind of focus on creating like an accessible, browser native DOM tree basically with this. So this is what divides like general graph visualization libraries from basically Svelte Flow, where it's mostly about building UIs with this. I know this is like, we shouldn't talk about React when we talk about Svelte, but this is basically the sister library of React Flow, which was there before. So this is where it all comes from, which is, I would say, like a pretty widely used library. So this has like many people using it, many people or companies building applications with it. And since version 1.0, this is also feature complete, meaning that all the updates that React Flow gets, also Svelte Flow will receive. So this, just want to say this, that this is like a very sustainable project. There are new features coming. There are people relying on this. So I would.
Okay, I think now we are live again. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Everything went down, but now we are back. So I'll mute myself once again.
Can you just tell me like what points was the last thing that
I think it was like basically as soon as it went down, I write it to you. So I think you can revert for a couple of sentences basically.
Oh, okay, all right. Like, okay, then quickly, just like a little note on how we finance ourselves with is basically we are dependent on people who build stuff with React Flow or Svelte Flow to give us money, which also enables us to we are like 5 people now working on this, and we basically just give you you can get extra support from us through currently just React Flow Pro. Maybe there will be like a Svelte Flow Pro. We don't know yet. And we also have a set of pro examples. I also want to emphasize that all the pro content we do, this isn't we aren't paywalling any features from Svelte Flow or React Flow. These are all things that we don't want to build into the library anyway, because they are just too opinionated, and there are so many ways to do this kind of things, which are dependent on your stack. And these are just things to which let you hit the ground running, basically, if you want to set up a new project. And this is basically also our means how we stay afloat. Now, enough talk. Let's actually build really quickly something with Svelte Flow, because it's super easy. So I just set up a completely normal Svelte application. I just ran the new SV CLI tool and set up a SvelteKit app. There's nothing in here yet. So the only thing you basically need to do is you need to install our library, which is @xyflow/svelte. And that is step 1. Let's run this. Yeah, it's running. Now, let's delete this and let's get started. So the things that you need to basically just display a very simple flow is, one, you need some kind of wrapper div that has some kind of size. I'm using Tailwind here. but I will just make like a full screen div. This is because Svelte Flow will just basically fill out any space you give it, and this is how it works. And then you just inside there, you mount the main Svelte Flow component. So this is what this looks like. This is the Svelte Flow component. You can import it from a library. And there's just like one more step needed. You also need to import some very basic CSS that we created. So you can do it like Svelte /dist, and now import style.css. A little note, we did this way because we want people to like really easily start using the library, but we also don't want to get in your way if you want to build something that has where you want to have the full control. That's why you can also alternatively import base.css, which is just the bare minimum that is like needed for functionality. For now, we will use style.css, so we also like see some stuff. So let's see if this actually worked. Okay, interesting. Is this running? Oh yeah, it has some port issues. It should be visible right here. All right, it's a white screen. We don't see anything. We can see a little Svelte Flow attribution. So it's running, but it's not what we want yet. So let's add some things. Let's add a background. Let's add a minimap. And let's add some controls. You see that I misspelled controls. We want Svelte Flow to be like super composable. That's like our main goal here, is to make everything like little building blocks that you are creating. So one note: everything you mount inside the Svelte Flow component will not appear like on the flow itself, which will like move with the viewport. It will be like overlaid. So anything you mount here is just like some kind of overlays, and you can see it here. So now we have a little background. I hope you can see this, like little dots in the background. Then we have like a minimap right here, which is overlaid, and we have some controls which are overlaid. Now, we want some nodes and some edges, and let's do this. The way we do it is the nodes and the edges is just a simple array of objects, of node objects. We can also like make our lives a little easier and like type this. We can just use the node type. This is like a node object, and it will be an array of node objects here. We are using state.raw for performance reasons mostly. We don't want all the objects inside the array to be like very deeply reactive, because we need a way to control the reactivity ourselves. And also this works for like 10 nodes, but it won't work for like 30, 40, 50 nodes. Will become a little bit slower. So we opted to using state.raw. And yeah, what is a node made up of? What is like the minimum information you need for a node is first an ID. This should be something unique. You should use some UUID for this. Ultimately, if you're building something more complicated, right now I'm just going to call it node 1. It needs a position, where should it be displayed? A position is just an X and a Y coordinates. Let's just use 0, 0 in this case. And well, TypeScript is still complaining. We also need to add a data object. So a data object is anything that is variable between nodes of a certain type. For the current case here, that could be a label, like node 1. Yeah, and there you go. TypeScript is happy. This is basically the bare minimum you need for a node. And let us give this state to Svelte Flow. We do this via bind. This is a new Svelte 5 feature. And this basically also communicates you can change the state any way you like. You can make changes to your nodes and edges, however you please. But there are changes coming from Svelte Flow. For example, if you drag a node around, obviously we need to alter your state, and the bind communicates this. So let's go over, oh yeah, we can see the little node right here. It's a little lopsided right now. We can add fit view, which takes care of centering your nodes in the beginning. And there you go. We already rendered one little node. Let's render a second node. I'm going to say it's node 2. Let's move it to the coordinates 100 and 100. Let's give it a different label. There you go. We have 2 nodes. Now, let's also add an edge. You guessed it. It's like very similar to adding nodes. We can also use our type here, which is an edge type. It's an array of edges. Again, it's a state.raw, and it's just an array of edge objects. Again, let's see what is an edge object made of. Again, you need an ID. Let's say it's 1, 2. And now you basically, you need to remember, this is like, you are basically creating structural data here. So the structure of a node is like, you have nodes with certain positions and you connect the nodes. So all we need to say here is like every edge has like a source, which is a certain node ID, and target, which is also a node ID. So it's node 2. And there we go. We have an edge, just array created. We again pass it down to Svelte Flow. And here we go. You have a node and an edge that is connected, that is interactive. I can delete it. However, I can select stuff. This is basically how it works. Now, most probably this is not what you want. You want to customize things, right? And this is something we very much pride ourselves in, that it's very easy to customize things. And the interesting part about this is that everything you see, everything I just showed you in the key concepts, the node is a Svelte Flow is a Svelte component. The edge is just a Svelte component. The connection is everything is just a Svelte component. So if you want to create a custom node, we can just simply create a new Svelte component for this. And basically, you can render in here anything you like. So we could, this would be already a completely fine Svelte component, but obviously we want to access the data inside that we receive from the nodes array. So we can just do this by implementing the props the correct way. So you can type your props of custom nodes with node props like this, and now we can basically access data like this. We render data.label right here. And now we have a custom node. We now, again, need to tell Svelte Flow what custom nodes there are. For this, we just create node types, which is just a simple JavaScript object, basically a dictionary, which maps literals of our choice. I can name this anything I want. I will name it custom, and I map this to the custom node type I just created. And again, we pass this to Svelte Flow. Now Svelte Flow knows what kind of node types there are, what kind of literals are mapped to which Svelte components. And now what we can do is we can define also a type, which will be custom in our case. And let's take a look what this has done. There you go. This is our little node. Now it basically is very bare bones. And as you see, the edge disappeared because this node doesn't have any handles. Svelte Flow is composable. So adding handles is there's no complicated way to tell Svelte Flow where the handles lie. You just mount handle components. So handle components basically has a position, which is let's say position top. And there is a type. There are source and target handles. So you can basically determine what can be connected. So if you don't want target and target handles to be connected, you can do this over defining types for it. So on top, this will be a target handle right here. And let's also add another handle at the bottom. And this will be a source target right here. Now, let's take a look. And there you go. You basically created 2 handles on your custom node. And that's basically it. Svelte Flow will make sure to figure out where your handle is and how to connect those 2 handles. The very cool part about this is that you can just use any kind of CSS to position your handle. So Like first, let's make this like a little bit bigger. Let's just add, what should we add, like 48? Let's make a very long node. Let's also give it a little background so it looks a tiny bit nicer. And as you see, you know, the CSS of the node basically determines the position of the handle, and we figure everything out that you want, that you need. You can also add multiple handles. Now you see that like we just defined, you know, what nodes to connect, and this works as long as you just have like a single source and a single target handle on your node. But if you want to add multiple nodes, you can do this by just adding, you know, IDs for each handle. These just need to be unique within a certain custom node type. So this doesn't need to be the UID. This could also be something like this, like right and left. Oops. And again, we can just simply position this by using CSS. So we can just say, let's say the right one we want to translate. Oh yeah, let's write it out. So we want to like translate this into one direction. The other one we will translate the other way. And let's reload this for a second. And there you go. Now it's connected to the first node, like first handle. It's basically there is on the node, but we can obviously also make the edge more specific and say, you know, which source handle you want to connect to. So you can either now define this with right or left. So let's connect to the right. Let me also just check, is the right handle? Yeah, it should be on the right. So now it's on the right. And if we say left, it connects to the left handle. This way you can, you know, render like an arbitrary number of handles. You can position them any way you like. And this is basically, you know, in very short way how you build your Flow UI. You can do the same thing for edges. So you can just, you know, define edge type, you know, what edge types there are. You can refer to edges with their types. I very much suggest you to head over to our examples where we have like many examples on all these things. You can see here custom edges. If you want to render like an edge with a button on it, that's like super easy. You can like take a look at how this works. Again, you can like type your props as like edge props. You can like access all the information you need. We also give you a lot of like helper functions, for example, rendering Bezier paths. If you want to do like smooth step edges, which are a little bit more cornered, we also have functions for that. And then again, you can just render our helper components for this. But at the same time, you can also customize this. Like you can take a look at the base edge component. It's not very complicated, and you can implement anything you want here and customize it completely. Yeah, one part to customize Svelte Flow is also through like the many props the main component basically has, like fit view, what you just saw, which basically, you know, fits the view right at the start. But there are like many more functionalities that you can control here. Minimum zoom, maximum zoom, all kinds of like button functionalities that we like, which are there by default, but all of them can be changed. And yeah, this way you can basically build your whole flow graph UI. Let's actually have a look at the features of what a flow UI can look like. We also have like many more features. You can have like child nodes, parent-child relationships. You can have restrictions on your child nodes. We also give you like a node resizer components. Again, to add like something like this, all you have to do is add the node resizer component. That's it. The same way you want to customize it, you can just look into the node resizer code, see what's in there. Again, it's not black magic. It's made up of like very simple building blocks, and you can have like implement very custom behavior with this. We're also constantly creating new examples, so always like take a look at what we are building. That's also our way to see how we can improve the library. We always try to like build more complicated stuff, or like last week, I, for example, focused on building things that you would normally find in like whiteboard tools. Like this is a little eraser tool which lets you like erase things. You can take a look at the code, or like a lasso selection, for example. And yeah, this basically is how you build Svelte Flow apps. It's normal Svelte components, and you structure the data just with an array of objects. That's basically all it is. If you have any questions, if you want to hit me up, you will always like find me on our Discord. We have like a very active Discord. If you have any questions, everything, we are like very fast answering them. There are no stupid questions. You can always just ask us. We will always answer them. And also, if you want to contact me, you can just write in the Svelte Flow channel inside the Discord. And yeah, I'm super happy to always see what you're building with this. We also have like a little showcase, which is very small compared to the showcase for React Flow. So if you have some interesting project you're building with this and want to be featured here, you can also just post it in Discord. And yeah, I'm happy to see you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me pin my microphone back, sorry. Thank you very much. It's very interesting, and I will definitely try it with the demo that I showed you before. So I think it's like in general very, very interesting, and also like I like how composable it is. Like it's very easy to mix and match, and how customizable it is. Because I think one of the big downside of like component library and stuff like that is that like if you style them, like if you have them like pre-styled, then you can use it in your like toy project. But as soon as you need to use it in a production environment, generally you can't use them because you need to customize the CSS, and it's not always easy. We have some questions. So we have a question from Mike that is asking, I think it didn't went through. Let me do it again. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so just a second. So we have a question from Mike that says, and I think I know the answer, but better you answer it. That says, does it support real-time presence? I suppose that you're just visualizing it, right? Like you don't have. So if you build something that has presence, you can use that flow too.
Absolutely. So like a little bit what you saw there, that like we don't really concern how you manage your state. Like any state you give to Svelte Flow, it will render it. And there are like things like the interactive parts are basically bubbling up again to your state. But whatever you want to add, like if you want to also make the present state of like another user, like if another user selects some kind of node, you can just like, it's as easy as like adding like inside the node data a field that basically is like, I don't know, selected state, and you can add a user ID inside. And then inside your component, you can render whatever you like you want to call, make a different outline for all selected nodes by other users or whatever. You can simply implement this. So in a way, we don't support presence because we don't concern ourselves with these kind of things. We're trying to be like a visualization library first and foremost. But at the same time, it's also super easy to create something like this. This is also something we are working on right now, is focusing on improving the library for like collaborative and multiplayer applications. So there will definitely be some updates, if there even will be, because it's if we find like some shortcoming, there will be like some improvements probably.
Another question that I have is, is not actually more than a question. Is I hate. Sorry, I've built this thing to showcase a message, but like I think OBS is semi-broken with it. It's more of a statement, and I say like I hope this also works in the REPL and not only in StackBlitz. And I suppose that like that's the case. I don't see why it shouldn't. Did you freeze?
No, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
This is Svelte Flow supported also in the Svelte REPL and not only in StackBlitz.
In Svelte REPL, so the only thing missing, I'm sorry, I misheard. This only thing missing really from the Svelte REPL is you cannot import like the CSS, the way.
Right.
Like this is, I was shortly also trying to get this working some other way. But I remember, like I didn't have any time, enough time for this at that point in time. So yeah, this is basically something that's prevents you from.
I think it's something that we can support in the REPL. I'll see if and I'll open a PR eventually.
Cool, yeah, nice.
All right, another question. I mean, it's not really a question; it's more of like it's saying like Svelte Flow Pro would be nice. We are using it in production since a few months ago, and it's going great. So it's just
nice.
A comment on Svelte Flow in general.
Always great to hear. We also like kind of restructuring our websites to make this easier, and we're definitely thinking about this. Like, also we have less and less reason not to do this. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for presenting this. I will definitely play with it after this episode. And yeah, I'll say thanks for presenting and thank everybody for watching. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you had a nice time with us, and I'll see you guys not next week, in 2 weeks, because next week I'm on vacation, so I'll be on the beach with a coconut, drinking from there and relaxing a bit. So see you in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.